Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar&Brawl. Hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam and wanted to make a video on Afghanistan, which has been in the news a little bit right now. So on Friday, as everybody knows, the US completely vacated its biggest airfield. And this has led to, talks being and news covering how Taliban is making a lot of progress right now. So just if you go back only a few weeks, just a month ago, apparently Taliban has made a lot of progress gaining some grounds, but of course they were already in control of something like a third of the country. So just something to bear in mind. But the fact that I feel like the fact that, just as soon as the US and other troops are leaving, that the Taliban are able to make such gains, although I think it would slow down. It's not going to continue like this. I was listening to analysts go ahead.
And for the last year and a half, just wanted to say they haven't attacked you foreign troops at all. They've just attacked Afghani.
Yeah. So, and apparently, so since you mentioned that, that's one of the things of the peace deal, which we'll get into, which maybe should resume in the spring. One of the main things as they can't attack US troops, one of the main parts of the agreement, apparently, that they've reached exactly. But I mean, I think just the fact that as soon as the US is withdrawing a few of its troops and other, that the reports that 1,000 soldiers have gone to Tajikistan and previously other Afghan soldiers had also fled to Tajikistan, just kind of shows what a pathetic job really the US has done in these past 2 years, 20 years, sorry. And if you add another 2, 3 years, it would just be delaying. The same thing would happen, right? It's not like they're gonna put in a nice plan to withdraw properly. People are like, oh, they should have withdrawn properly. But I just want to read this example. I mean, it's just like a small anecdote of the way that they apparently left their biggest airfield as an example, as you can't trust them to come up with a good 2 to 3 year plan to leave Afghanistan. So the United States left Afghanistan Bagram airfield after nearly 20 years by shutting off the electricity and slipping away in the night without notifying the base's new Afghan commander, who discovered the Americans' departure more than 2 hours after they left, Afghan military officials said. This is from Al Jazeera. Before the Afghan army could take control of the airfield, a small group of looters ransacked barack after barack and rummaged through giant storage tents before being evicted. In one night, and this is an Afghan soldier, he said this, in one night, they lost all the goodwill of 20 years by leaving the way they did in the night without telling the Afghan soldiers who were outside patrolling the area. So I think just this little anecdote summarizes that yes, people predicted
Oh,
that Taliban will be making gains right now, but trusting you guys to put in a better plan was, is dreaming.
a different administration and a completely in the current makeup of Republican Party and the Democratic Party, except Bernie Sanders, I don't see anybody who would have done a better job of with like, yeah, I don't see any different like 2 more years of same shit. But that doesn't mean it could have been done in a more like they could have notified the commander. They could have done some nation building stuff. They could have, left the
Yeah.
more positive. It could have both the the occupation and the withdrawal could have been handled far better. And I'm not one of these isolationists. I do think like countries should intervene if they can slightly like make the we've had this discussion before, but like I'm not always against the empire, but this time this case study is a very bad one, like yeah, very bad one actually.
Yeah, and then so we're going to talk about state building and all that. I have the video from the professor that will play in a bit. But I mean, right now, when I'm kind of listening to narratives, the framework that is being pushed is like the framework of war, kind of, or civil war. And that one is clear. The Taliban are going to win pretty much everything. People say they're not going to. Kabul is maybe a stretch too far. So maybe Taliban wouldn't be able to take over Kabul. But I mean, the real hope right now, I think, for Afghanistan are the peace talks that have been stalled, and they might pick up in the spring. But I
uh,
feel like, I mean, the
to be
war, because they're like, oh, the Afghan troops can push back maybe and stuff. I agree with this commentary. I was listening that it will calm down. they will reach more of a stalemate, but that
I,
will be the case.
yeah, I think they're gonna reach. Yeah, but I mean, I think they're not gonna take over all of Afghanistan. It's gonna revert back to 1990s situation, where north parts of the north and all that are
Yeah.
sort of semi-independent, and the rest are like sort of under Talibani control. But it's the airport thingy. There is an airport that is the security of the Kabul airport or something like that. That's been negotiated right now. So I was very surprised that Americans are not even keeping military bases or anything. But interestingly, though, it does seem to prove the case for the hardcore imperialists that they are even for military bases that US has in Germany and Japan is still. And Japan is a different case, but in Germany, people are like, why? Or Italy or stuff. But it seems like if you want to have a country on your side, it seems like you have to have a military base forever, basically. It seems to prove their case correct. It seems.
But I mean, the context is very different, though. I mean, but that's true. I mean,
definitely.
When you occupy a place,
it's
as
funny
long
one.
as you're
I wonder
occupying,
if tomorrow, if US pulls out of Germany, what's going to happen? Are the Nazis going to roll back in? Like
well, I don't think so. In that case, that's going to happen.
Taking land, like taking Berlin.
But if you go back to my original argument, they're doing such a bad job in Afghanistan that if they stayed longer, they could have like slowly reinforced Taliban's more even a year. So when they leave in 3 years, it's even more of a shit show. And I mean, right now, the Taliban control the south, which is kind of where they're from, and where they're making the gains are in the north. But like the Kabul region, they say so far will be a bit of a stretch. But should we talk a little bit about the state building? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But by the way, it's not just Americans in like Mazar Sharif, which is a major city of Afghanistan. Turkish, Iranians, Tajik councillors, all like everybody's pulling out their officials. It's not like just diplomats are being pulled out, journalists are being pulled out. So there's going to be a massacre.
I mean, for sure, the next few months. I don't think anybody can deny that. It's just that the other side hasn't shown, a good viable option. And it kind of reminds me of this video we made on Larry Wilkerson, and he was having this debate on the analysis, and he was like, well, if the US had done it this way and that way, and a better plan and a better that, it would have gone differently. But sure.
They didn't.
Well,
I have a lot of sympathy for that argument, though, that if you invade somewhere, invade it correctly and do it with planning and stuff.
Perfect.
But
perfect
they didn't do that.
Sam, perfect setup for this video. So let's play this video, people, and come back.
I think if we are explaining U.S. legacy in the context of nation-state building, it was a complete failure. If we see regarding the commitment of U.S. in Afghanistan, bringing peace, bringing security, bringing good governance, bringing democracy, bringing the people to the uproot, it all failed. Today we have a failed government, we have a failed democracy, we have a failed governance, which we see the results by taking over from the Taliban in more than 100 districts in a month. Regarding the development, yes, we do have schools, we do have clinics, we do have roads, but the legacy that Soviets remained in the development is far more visible than the legacy that US is leaving. We don't have any big hydroelectric dams. We don't have any big national projects which we can say that this was a legacy of US from past 20 years. But we do have such hydroelectric dams, big roads, big tunnels, big transportations, and big housing schemes from Soviet Union. So it's a bit conflicting, and it's a bit resistible that how can we evaluate the legacy that we are having from the US. But it is a repetition of the history in Afghanistan.
So history,
I think we are
repeating itself. Yes, thank you.
Okay, now that people have watched this video, this professor, right? I believe he's a professor, 99% sure. He was on the Insider in Al Jazeera, and he's talking about the legacy of the US there. He says security. democracy, all of this nothing. And then he even talks about state building, and he says even the Soviets left behind,
And Soviets,
something better
in
than the
terms of,
Americans are. So sorry, I was just gonna say, so state building was clearly nothing they even considered in Afghanistan. I mean, he said, fair enough, he said they built some clinics and schools, but
to be fair, I mean, I don't know what the professor's view on this, but I would say that it's a reflection of the age we live in, though. Like that, when Soviets went into Afghanistan, they still had that sort of imperialistic, we're going to take over built, and they did a lot of good social policies, by the way, like regarding women and all that. They killed a lot of people too, and they were supporting it. By the way, they were supporting the Afghan Communist Party and all. So it's just like America that supports a nominally national government. But then during the time that US invaded Afghanistan, we are this neoliberal age of free markets and all that. And yeah, I mean, I just don't think state building in Afghanistan was effective or positive in any way, shape,
very
or form.
good point.
Like,
or even attempted.
I can't think of even one positive case like that's like in urban areas, schools for women. That's like the only positive thing that comes to mind. But in terms of like agriculture, you see the dam productions have damaged the agriculture. It has caused the production of opium to go even higher. So it's just all around. Although some would argue that was the plan. That was the plan, to go and take over the opium market and the gun running market and all that. So or as Trump said, there is $3 trillion of minerals under Afghanistan. So so that was the plan. So maybe it worked out fantastically well but just in terms of like the plan they told us, didn't work.
But no, very good point about the age of neoliberalism right now. And it kind of made me think about, people talk about this when it comes to Africa. They contrast the Chinese and the American approach, and they're like, at least the Chinese built something. And actually, this brings me to my final kind of point about this story. But I think your point on neoliberalism was very good there. So this is a quote from Financial Times again, and it's from an Indian official. So an Indian government official said China's approach was to try to rebuild Afghanistan's shattered infrastructure in cooperation with the Taliban by channeling funds through Pakistan, one of Beijing's finest allies in the region. We can vouch that China will fund the rebuilding of Afghanistan through the Taliban via Afghanistan. China is Pakistan's wallet. And then finally, another diplomat said, China, at the request of Pakistan, will support the Taliban. So just wanted to bring in the angle of China there too, who have a stake there. And sorry, just the last thing to add, China's also concerned, of course, with their whole Silk Road thing and going to Pakistan. So they're also concerned with, I guess, Afghanistan's Belt and Road Initiative. They're concerned with Afghanistan's stability from that point of view too, I would assume.
Definitely. But then again, so is US. But although I would say you have to take these officials' quotes with a huge grain of salt, because Indian officials are the biggest enemies of Chinese and Pakistani officials. And I think what he's getting at there right now, I don't think he's going at the angle that China is going to rebuild Afghanistan. Yeah. He's going with the angle that China is supporting Taliban, and China is going to funnel money through Taliban. But then again, US does that too, through Pakistan. Like, if that's what Pakistani government is there for, you give them money and they sort of through their secret police give it to okay. And I'm sure every government, I'm sure, gonna try to work with Taliban to an extent. And it's not surprising they're trying to demonize Chinese, but I'm sure China will in a way work. I'm sure they don't like them, but they will work with anybody. Anybody works with anybody, so not a surprise.
Exactly.
And now Taliban is the major authority, so.
Exactly. And people also point out to, Islamic groups, I guess, both in China and in Afghanistan that China is fighting against. So in that way, they might also...
And rare earth minerals that China needs for...
Of course, and all of that. Okay, brilliant. I don't know if anything else you want to add?
Not really.
Okay, great
Well done,
stuff.
Ayman.
So people, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And more importantly, leave your comments, questions, criticisms, everything in the comment section below, and we'll make sure to get to them. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.